What's good, Destination Devy fam? Welcome back to the station. Destination Devy, here to help you Dynasty and Devy better. We're going to leave the young guys alone for this episode, and we're going to focus on the running back position. These running backs with contracts that are expiring, they need to be paid. Jerry Maguire, show me the money style. Give them. Back up the Brinks truck for Derrick Henry. Back it up for Alvin Kamara. We'll talk about those guys. We'll talk about them. I got my man, my partner in crime, Jordan Richards, with me. This should be a great show. Excited for the feedback. Excited for you to check it out. And excited for the intro. Drop it, baby.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
Jay, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm just realizing right now this is my all-gas show debut. This is my crown jewel right here. The thing everyone keeps blowing up my DMs about, the thing that you get tons of love about. This is it. This is the crown jewel of Destination Devy, and we're about to blow it up right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are. And we've got, like I said, we got some running backs to talk about. And I really wanted to touch on these 5 running backs. And then we'll hit a couple of more guys later on. But I think their situations are a little more clear than what we have here today. And I really want to provide some actionable content for Dynasty owners because these are decisions that we have to make. You know, are we going to ride Derrick Henry out? What do we do with Aaron Jones? What are we thinking about Kenyan Drake in Arizona? We'll look at their contract situation, what they've done the previous years. I want to start it off by talking about Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry is he is truly a size, speed specimen. He's a freak. We don't see players like Derrick Henry with that build at his size. His ability to pull away from defenses is crazy. And you can see on some of these clips here. I mean, this dude, once he hits the open field at 250, however many pounds he is, like you're not catching him from behind. It's very, very impressive to watch. And I know it started off a little slow with his career. DeMarco Murray, during Derrick Henry's rookie season, decided to just put on a show from the ages and kind of kept Henry's value suppressed as a rookie. But then we saw him in his second season, and then he rushed for 1,000 yards in his third year. In this past 2019 season, he led the NFL in rushing. But Tennessee is yet to fully commit to Derrick Henry as he's going to play this 2020 season under the franchise tag. Are we concerned about Henry long term? Do you have concern about him? I know how I feel personally, but I really want to get your thoughts, Jay. How are you dealing with Derrick Henry if you own him in Dynasty? What are your feelings about him moving forward?
This question is really just, are you a contender or are you not? And if you're a contender, you have to ride Derrick Henry because that guy is going to be more than likely a 300 carry guy, could be an RB1. Like you said, he's RB13 in DLF ADP, so he's a fringe RB1 as far as value goes. But if you're not a contender, you have to sell him. And just because you need to get that maximum return for Henry, but that's not going to be till the beginning of the season, middle of the season, when he starts to have maybe that first 200-yard game against Jacksonville. Then maybe he has another 200-yard game against Jacksonville. And then you can sell him for kind of your most return.
Death taxes, and Derrick Henry rushing for 200 versus Jacksonville, right?
Oh, yeah, man. And, who knows? Maybe he'll stiff arm C.J. Henderson this year instead of A.J. Boye. But what we're going to see, I think, more than anything is he going to go to another spot that's going to be as advantageous for him as Tennessee is? And I do think that long-term for Tennessee, it makes sense for them to get a deal done because he's the perfect fit. And he's one guy, but even though he's so big, I think that's another reason I'm not concerned about him getting hurt. He doesn't really have a crazy injury history. He's been durable, and I just don't see him slowing down until further down the line, right, when you need to really be worried about selling him past that peak 27-28 season that running backs go through. And he also doesn't have the crazy workload. I mean, if you excuse Alabama, obviously, where I believe he had 350 carries in his final year. But in the NFL, it's a smaller workload transitioning from Murray to Henry. And now we'll see where he goes with that new team or if he stays in Tennessee. But I think any team other than Tennessee is more than likely a downgrade for him unless he somehow ends up with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, it's crazy that you talk about that because a lot of times when these players do transition to new teams, we don't see the same level of production from them moving forward. Now, sometimes it does happen, it's not going to happen because Baltimore already invested in a young, talented running back in J.K. Dobbins. But what if a team like the Ravens picked up Derrick Henry? I mean, his value would skyrocket, whereas if a team like, and I can't think of one right now, but A team like even the Chiefs, right? If he went to a team like Kansas City where they want to throw the ball a whole bunch, I just don't. I don't know how much value Henry would have outside of Tennessee. It's the perfect marriage for him. Like in an ideal world, it's crazy because I thought about this the other day. What if they let Henry walk to draft Najee Harris next year, like a better version of Derrick Henry? That'd be pretty cool to see. But I'm with you. He's playing for a contract, so we're going to get the best, even though we just saw 1,500 yards and 16 TDs. I think in half point per reception leagues and standard leagues, God, if you play in that still, I think you ride Derrick Henry out. I just think he's one of those type of players where he's a size, speed specimen that doesn't come along often, and you just ride him out outside of a massive package. But in PPR formats, I mean, even with him leading the league in rushing, man, that the upside, he's not going to catch a lot of passes. He caught the most passes of his career this past season, which was 18. He had 24 targets, and he also had 5 fumbles this past season. Like, he's got to hold on and protect the ball a little bit more. I'm not as concerned about him in half-point PPR leagues. He's probably a player that I would just ride out. He's still young. He's very durable. I think he's only missed 1 game in his NFL career so far. So your best ability is availability. Derrick Henry is always there. So if I had to put a final verdict on this one, my level of concern for Derrick Henry in Tennessee, on a scale from 1 being not concerned to 10 being absolutely panicked, I'm probably at a 4. I'm not overly concerned. I'm hoping he gets his deal in Tennessee. Where are you at?
I'd say I'm probably about a 6, and I feel like I'm just on the opposite end of the spectrum. Even though I hope he stays, I don't see many situations for him as an upgrade, right? And that's where I think that I'm probably just on the other side of pessimism, where I think that he's more than likely going to go to a worse situation. He still may be used a lot, but when you have other guys, especially in a PPR format like we play in a lot of PPR formats, where he's very devalued because of his lack of pass catching, and there's guys around him that maybe you can get one for cheaper that will have better longevity and obviously team security that you don't have to deal with Henry.
You make a good point. I mean, you're probably right. They did invest in Darrington Evans. I like Evans. I don't know. He's a completely different type of running back than Derrick Henry, but there are only a couple of situations where I could see his value really improving if he leaves. So I guess it's just my optimistic side that they're going to hammer out a deal and give him a little more stability, which would be great for Dynasty, great for him. But I definitely can understand where you're coming from with Derrick Henry. But let's take a look at this next player. And I wanted to touch on him because I really didn't want to, but then you brought up some compelling arguments about Alvin Kamara. And Kamara right now, according to DLF, he's RB. He's the 4th running back coming off of the board in Dynasty startups. Listen to this, man. In 2019, Alvin Kamara made $800,000. In 2018, he made $635,000. $635,000. Like, I know that's a ton of money for us, but in NFL purposes, for a player who, since entering the NFL, his rookie season, 100 targets, 81 receptions. 81 receptions his second season. 81 This is like I had to double check. 81 receptions, 81 receptions, 81 receptions. 700 yards, 800 rushing yards, 797 rushing yards this past season. He's been pretty durable. He was banged up a little bit last year, but still played in 14 games. Doesn't put the ball on the ground a whole bunch. And he had a down season last year, only 5 touchdowns on the ground, 1 through the air. But it's hard for me to envision a world where Alvin Kamara is not a New Orleans Saint. It's really hard for me to envision that. Now, where does he fall in line of running back pecking order? I'm sure for him, he wants to be the highest paid running back in the NFL. He wants to surpass Christian McCaffrey. He wants to get past Ezekiel Elliott. Do I think Alvin Kamara is a better running back than those two? No, I do not. But I definitely think he's worth more than a Todd Gurley, and he should be paid for his skill set. But what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? Is there a world? Is there a world? And I'm not telling Dynasty owners to go out there and sell Alvin Kamara. I love his talent and skill set, but I think he is always going to be best a part of a committee with a true kind of grinder running back like a Mark Ingram, like a Latavius Murray, and let him be, I'm going to use complimentary role, but he's really like the 1A, but playing off of, a hammer inside. Where are you at with Alvin Kamara and in his contract situation, his cost in dynasty startup drafts, and just your personal feelings about what we should be doing with Alvin Kamara moving forward?
Alvin Kamara, for me, at least as far as startup, I'm still buying him. I've drafted him in 9th overall, 10th overall, 11th overall as kind of that RB4, 5 off the board in startups. I'm not worried about his transition from the Saints to another team. Yes, he may go down in touchdowns a little bit, but as far as volume, I think no matter where he ends up, he's going to get that work. He's going to get paid like a quote-unquote top running back. But I think the difference is that I don't really envision a world where Alvin Kamara gets a $16 million deal. I think he's more in the 10 to 12 range, even though I think he's personally worth more than that. But as far as the Saints and his situation goes, the Saints right now heading into 2021 are negative $36 million on the cap because they're all in on Drew Brees this year. They're all in on trying to win this year. And that's just their current situation. In 2017, they drafted 3 first-round picks. They drafted they drafted 2 first-round picks. Marshawn Lattimore, who was top 10 pick, that guy's going to want to be paid like a top corner in the league because he is. And so when I was checking and I was running the numbers, he's projected to get somewhere in the realm of $17 million a year. That would make him one of the highest paid corners. Byron Jones got 16.5 from Miami. I would expect Lattimore to get $17 million, just like they paid Michael Thomas 20. And then you have their starting right tackle, Ryan Ramczyk. If he gets paid as the highest paid, that's another $18 million to the cap hit.
He's good.
He's very good.
They got to pay him.
He's very good, right? So you think about, and their offensive line is very important to them. They draft O-line every year. They want to keep that QB healthy. And let's not forget that Drew Brees is costing them $2 million against the cap this year. So they still got to pay another quarterback if that's Jameis Winston, whether that's someone else or drafting somebody. They're going to have to pay somebody an additional probably $8 to $10 million at least, potentially $20 million. That's also going to get added to that cap. And because they don't really need Kamara for the team's success, they're a like you said, they're a committee team. They'll draft a guy, they'll bring a guy in, they'll bring a complimentary back. And with all these moving pieces this year, that's going to be the ultimate. Where's the push and pull going to be from not just the Saints, but other teams as well? Would you rather sign a Kareem Hunt on the cheap to replace Alvin Kamara, or do you roll with Alvin Kamara, who knows the system, who you like a lot? And one thing that I want to say to you is that there's reports that he played half the season last year banged up. So even though he played 14 games, people said about the second half of the year he was banged up and he just gutted it out because they didn't have Drew for part of that season. So I think there's a lot of things to look for with Kamara, but I think there is definitely a world where he's not a Saint. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a super big hit to his value, but obviously there will be a hit there. But I definitely think there's a world where he's not on the team, and it's just because of cap constraints. And they're going all in, so it makes sense. Someone's going to have to fall victim to the cap.
So let's just, in this world where Alvin Kamara is not a Saint, do you think that his transition to another team would be as detrimental to us in Dynasty as Derrick Henry? Because I think that his skill set, what Alvin Kamara is able to do, 100 targets, 105 targets, 97 targets, his involvement in the passing game, he just offers something completely different than what Derrick Henry brings to the table, to where if he's not a Saint, which for some reason I just can't envision that, but they're going to have to make decisions. Drew Brees isn't going to be there forever. They've just paid Michael Thomas. They've got the offensive lineman. They've got Lattimore they've got to pay. He may not be around, but would you be concerned about Kamara on another team like you would be Derrick Henry?
That's a really difficult question, and it's just because of team fit. But to your point about the targets, if he's on a team that's willing to give him the targets, he has a safe floor, right? To the point where you were saying about Derrick Henry, where if someone's going to pay Derrick Henry, they're going to give him 300 carries. You know what I'm saying? So I think as far as that goes, he should be fine going forward and have no issues. And like I said, I think he's one of the safest players as far as moving team to team. I would actually love to see him swap with Aaron Jones and end up on the Packers. If you were to put Aaron Jones on the Saints, what he would do in that scheme, and then put Kamara on the Packers, I think that would be a really interesting swap of players who I feel are of somewhat similar value.
All right. Well, there's the Alvin Kamara piece. That's going to be interesting to watch that play out. And I want to talk about Leonard Fournette for a while. Leonard Fournette has been the topic of conversation for a while in NFL circles and fantasy football. What is Jacksonville doing? What's going to happen with Leonard Fournette? And they've already declined his fifth-year option, right? So we know that Fournette's going to be somewhere else after the season. but he's playing for a contract. And Leonard Fournette is coming off of a hell of a season in 2019 where he ran for over 1,100 yards. He had 100 targets. He had more targets than Alvin Kamara, 76 receptions. And it was so frustrating owning Fournette last year because he had at least like 3 breakaway runs where he was hawked down from behind at like the 5-yard line, which, 90-yard touchdown run, that would have helped us all in fantasy. Only 3 touchdowns. I don't know what was going on when Jacksonville got down the goal line. But Leonard Fournette, right now, he's the 18th ranked running back off of the board, according to DLF Startup ADP. So he's well outside of the top 12. He's a mid-range RB2. That's what we're drafting him as. And as I was going back watching his tape, man, and putting stuff together for this show, he's good, bro. Leonard Fournette, like, say what you want about his availability, especially in the 2018 season. He only played 8 games. As a rookie, he only played 13 games. When he's on the field and playing, he's a beast. Leonard Fournette is an absolute dog. He showed that he can catch the ball out of the backfield, which is viable and what we look for in PPR formats. Even if he's not on Jacksonville, which we know that's not going to happen, he's going to be a starter somewhere. He's going to be a starting running back somewhere else. And I'm not all the way off the Leonard Fournette bandwagon right now. Where are you at right now? Are you buying Fournette? Are you holding Fournette? Are you selling Fournette? Where are you at with Leonard right now?
It's tough, man, because the more we prepared for the show, I think I'm a buyer. And people can say that, he got too many targets. They're going to go down. But at the same time, Jacksonville didn't add anybody. Their team is terrible. They're competing with the Patriots for the worst team in the AFC. And I don't see any situation where that is not the case. They're terrible. You have DJ Shark, you got Gardner Minshew if he's got value in a Superflex league, and you got Leonard Fournette. They brought in Chris Thompson. Okay, fantastic. A guy who's never healthy. Yeah. Maybe he'll take a few targets away from Fournette. But one stat that I did find, just kind of looking through his career stats, he has a 75% catch rate, which is surprising for a guy who people don't view as a pass catcher. People are like, those 76 receptions are a bit of an aberration, but that's still 76%. That's an above average catch rate, even for a running back, even for a pass catching running back. So most times when you project running backs to have somewhere around 70 to 75. And I think that's a reasonable expectation for Leonard Fournette. If he gets 75 targets, that's another 50 receptions. That could be another 500 yards. That could be another 2 touchdowns. You just don't really know what he can do. And as far as his rushing ceiling, it's the roof. It's Derrick Henry, because that's how productive the guy can be if he gets the carries. And I think I'm looking at Leonard Fournette right now, and I'm saying, you know what? It's a bit of a risk because he has some off-the-field issues, maybe some character issues. He's not portrayed the best in the media, or it seems like by NFL GMs. But if he can land in a decent spot, he could be a top 15, 16 pick by midseason next year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm all aboard the Fournette train. I think at his value, right, coming off of the board as the 18th running back, I can't think of 17 guys I'd want over Leonard Fournette. I really can't. I think that's appropriate. And like you said, even if his targets and his receptions go down, unlike Derrick Henry, we know that Fournette can play all 3 downs, and he will be involved in the passing game. We hope, fingers crossed, that Derrick Henry's out there 1 third down situation and long where he can catch a screen. We know Leonard Fournette can do that. And when you're just looking at what he's done since coming into the NFL, what I really love about his game is he doesn't cough the ball up. He had 2 fumbles as a rookie, 1 fumble last year, no fumbles in 2018. So he's not coughing the ball up. He's got a good catch rate that you just mentioned. And when he's carrying the ball, hopefully with more talent around him, it will open things up. I mean, there were games where they were just like, stop Leonard Fournette. Stop Leonard Fournette. That's all we have to do, and we win. And that's pretty much what happened. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you if you're a Leonard Fournette owner, how concerned are you? And I didn't do this for Kamara, but for me, scale 1 to 10 to Kamara, I have like 1 would be the lowest, or 0. I'm not concerned whatsoever. If I had to say for Leonard Fournette, scale of 1 to 10, I'd say maybe a 5, just a 5. But I think at his ADP, at his cost right now, he is a value. Where are you at with Fournette?
Yeah, I'm definitely a 1 for Kamara as well. But as far as Leonard Fournette goes, I think I'm more of a 4. But I think if he was better off the field, I'd be at a 2.
I mean,
I
what
think
has he
the only
done what do you
concern
mean off the field? What has he done
it
off
just
the field?
he just doesn't it's not so much off the field, but it's his rep with the front office, right? Like if people are talking, they'll
His
say, well, what does
rep,
Leonard Fournette do that's
his
I,
rep with
I'm
Tom Coughlin. Tom
I'm not saying
Coughlin.
I'm not saying that anything wrong with Leonard Fournette, but I as far as we know how the NFL works, and it's a billionaire boys club, right? They're gonna talk shit about all these guys. They want to find reasons not to pay people, and I feel like Leonard Fournette has given teams reasons to not pay him money, and like I said, he got his guaranteed money stripped. What, after the first season or the second season?
Yeah.
When he got his guaranteed money stripped away. And again, that's by old man Tom Coughlin. But it's just it's not Leonard Fournette's character. It's smaller things. And like his suspension when he ran down the sideline, tried to fight somebody. It's very small things. But when you look at especially all these running backs, everyone has a little bit that maybe isn't the best of them. But I'd say Leonard Fournette is up there as far as quote unquote issues go compared to some of these other guys.
That's fair. I think you made a really good point that they do try to find ways not to pay players, and Leonard Fournette, by his own doing, have given the Jacksonville Jaguars and other teams reasons not to pay him. You know, getting your guaranteed money stripped. They were actively shopping him during the draft. Very good point. And he may be one of those players that has to take a deal like Melvin Gordon got with the Broncos, a 2-year deal, a 1-year deal like Gurley got, prove himself, but there's plenty of time left for a young, talented player. Again, 18th running back off of the board. That's a value for me. So moving on to a player who I am a lot more concerned about is Green Bay Packers running back Aaron Jones. Very, very concerned about Aaron Jones. So right now, according to DLF, he's got a startup ADP as the 17th running back off of the board. So one spot ahead of Leonard Fournette. Aaron Jones out of UTEP was a 5th-round pick. Showed a little bit of promise in his rookie season. His second season, he started showing those flashes. And then this past season in 2019, over 1,000 rushing yards, 16 TDs, caught a bunch of passes. He went nuts for Green Bay when they finally utilized him as the primary ball carrier, which it felt like for the longest they wanted him to be a part of a committee. Jamal Williams was getting touches. And then enter the 2020 NFL Draft, they go quarterback, and then their very next pick in the second round, they take A.J. Dillon out of Boston College. I've heard no chatter about Aaron Jones getting a contract extension, getting another offer. I'm very concerned. As an Aaron Jones owner, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the end. My panic meter would be like an 8. I would be looking to sell, not just because regression is due. He's not going to score 1,000 freaking touchdowns again this season. Jamal Williams is still there. They invested a 2nd-round pick in A.J. Dillon. Up until this past season, they really failed to commit to him as the primary rusher. And a lot of that was because Jamal Williams went down with the concussion, and they were still trying to rotate the both of these guys. Where are you at with Aaron Jones if you're an owner of him, his startup ADP being the 17th back off of the board? Where are you at with Aaron Jones?
I think you made a lot of really good points there. And one thing just to touch on is that Jamal Williams is also a free agent, but he's not going to cost what Aaron Jones is going to cost in free agency, right? And so I could definitely see a world where Aaron Jones is gone, Jamal Williams stays on maybe a cheap $1.5–2 million deal, and then maybe A.J. Dillon transitions as the starter, or they bring someone else in at a cheaper rate, right? But some of the things that I found, at least when I was looking at, so I did a little bit of cap digging on Aaron Jones as well. And 2 guys that I found that are going to be cap casualties for them are going to be their defensive tackle, Kenny Clark. I believe he was rated as the 2nd rated defensive tackle in the league, and he's playing on his 5th-year option. He was drafted in 2016, and he's supposed to generate about $18 million is what Spotrac projected for his market value, which is a lot, right? And then the other guy who's going to be a free agent after 2020 is left tackle David Bakhtiari, who they're going to bring back, right? That's the starting left tackle. It's been Aaron Rodgers' left tackle for most of his career, if not all of his career. So those are 2 guys, at least that I found, who could be an issue for Jones getting his money if he wants 10, 12 million. And then as well, they're still trying to bolster that defense. And it seems like Matt LaFleur is he's starting to feel himself now. He went 13-3. He's power tripping a little bit. He's like, I don't need Aaron Jones. I'll draft Travis Etienne, even though the running backs are a little bit questionable once you get through the first few. But I think Matt LaFleur is going to be power tripping this year. We'll see what he can do. If maybe Aaron Rodgers will try and work some magic, but I could definitely see them saying, Aaron Jones, take a hike. right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because his talent is there. He's going to see some TD regression for sure after he got 16 this year. But there's going to be a lot of pieces to go around. And the other piece actually is cornerback Kevin King. He's another guy who's going to be a free agent, played 78% of snaps last year and had 5 picks. So they're definitely going to want to bring him back to keep that defense strong. But Jones' fantasy value, it's interesting because I still think I might take him over Leonard Fournette, but I think that Leonard Fournette's ceiling and situation are greater on another team that likes him, wants to use him, where Jones, I could see him falling into that committee role like we've been talking about, and even on another team not getting that lead dog role. You don't take Leonard Fournette on and not give him any carries because he'll create a scene, he'll do something that you probably won't like. But if you're taking Leonard Fournette, you're taking a bell cow. If you're taking Aaron Jones, I love his talent, but I don't think NFL teams value him the way that fantasy owners do, and that's the issue. And that's why I think your 8 is totally applicable for Aaron Jones.
Where do you have him at concern factor if you're an Aaron Jones owner?
Man, honestly, I think I'm at a 10. Like I don't want to be at a 10, but he's the one guy when you look at where he's valued, where he gets traded for, and the regression that could be headed his way. We don't even AJ Dillon, for all we know, could take over because Matt LaFleur likes him, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't make any sense to anybody who looked at AJ Dillon's tape in college. But if Matt LaFleur says we want AJ Dillon to be Derrick Henry, he's going to be Derrick Henry, and that's that. And Aaron Jones may be a complimentary role.
Well, he did come from Tennessee. I mean, he came from Tennessee and saw Derrick Henry and that size and that speed. And, say what you want about A.J. Dillon's tape, he is a size, speed specimen at 6 foot, 250 pounds to run as fast as he did, to jump as high as he did. I'm not a fan, but, yeah, you make a really good point. I am very concerned about Aaron Jones, and I don't have any Aaron Jones shares. And right now, I don't want any. And if I had Aaron Jones on my team, I would be trying to sell the hell out of him right now. So that's where I'm at with Aaron Jones. Want to talk about Kenyan Drake. Kenyan Drake, the new starting running back going into this season, full-time starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals, was traded mid-season from Miami. Don't know what Miami was doing. Brian Flores, I like the moves you've made, but Kenyan Drake he's good. Kenyan Drake is good. So in 8 games with Arizona last year, 643 yards, 3 TDs, 28 receptions on 35 targets, and he just looked to be the more explosive and superior running back in that backfield. I know there was hopes for Chase Edmonds, and we know what happened with David Johnson. And then what happens? They don't give him a deal. They give him this transition tag, which is a little different than the franchise tag. Compensation's not involved. They get right of first refusal. So he is going to make $8 million this year. He's been in the league since 2016. Is Kenyan Drake, is he a lead back? Is he an RB1? Right now, he's coming off of the board, DLF startup rankings, the 19th running back off the board. I'm a little bit higher on Kenyan Drake. I love his skill set. I love his fit in this offense. They did draft Benjamin in the 7th round. I think he's more of a threat to Chase Edmonds than he is to Kenyan Drake. Is Drake going to get the deal? Is Drake going to be the long-term solution in Arizona? And I'll be honest with you. I made a trade today. This morning, I've got this team in my Dynasty Home League. It's loaded. I'm telling you. Christian McCaffrey, I had Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Thomas, George Kittle, DJ Moore. The team is absolute. Allen Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins. The team is stacked. I've got an absolutely loaded team. But I made a deal this morning. I traded Zeke Elliott, and I acquired Kenyan Drake and Alexander Madison and some first-round picks. I am a Drake truther, Kenyan Drake truther. I have a scale of 1 to 10 concern about his contract situation and what he can do in another team if he doesn't get it from Arizona. 3, not really that concerned. I think his skill set really is solidified, and he showed what he can do in a primary back role. Where are you at with Kenyan Drake? 19th ranked running back off of the board, contract situation up in the air. How do you feel about Drake, man?
I would say I'm probably about a 4 to 5 with Drake, and it's just because I think more so it's about the offensive fit with Arizona and with the Chiefs and maybe with a few other systems. He's a perfect fit. But there's not enough of those teams to warrant Drake getting a big deal on another situation. Like, there's not enough of those situations to go around. But as far as talent goes, man, I would be taking Drake probably in the top 13, 14. You talk about just for this year, he could be the top running back in fantasy football because of what he could do.
He's a top in seasonal leagues. He's a top 12 running back this year. He's an RB1 in seasonal leagues, and in dynasty purposes, coming off of the board almost as the 20th ranked running back. That seems quite low for me. That's just my personal feeling. I think the talent is there. He's shown what he can do when given the opportunity. I'm not worried about Kenyan Drake, man. I'm not worried about Drake.
Like, for me, it's not so much the talent, right? It's just if he goes to another situation, does he get in that complimentary role again? But it's not as good as he had with Arizona. And that's really my only reservations. Talent-wise, I love him. And in Arizona especially, I love him. But they seem to be – this is their year to figure out, are we signing Kenyan Drake or are we moving along with Chase Edmonds and, Benjamin? That's clearly what it seems like they're doing. They're trying to figure it all out this year. Who's going to be the running back for Kyler Murray, whether it's Kenyan Drake, whether it's somebody else? And is that next situation better than the one he has in Arizona? But for this year, like you said, man, he could be top 6. He could be number 1. We have no idea, but his ceiling is crazy.
What's crazy about that is people weren't saying that Arizona was some great situation when he was traded there. They were looking at the Cardinals as it's a bad offensive line. You've got this quarterback that's mobile, and mobile quarterbacks don't throw to the running back. I believe they give him a deal before the end of the season. They're going to sign him, whether it's a 2-year extension, a 3-year extension. Kenyan Drake's going to get paid this 2020 season. I really like Chase Edmonds, but when he got hurt after he blew up against the Giants, that evaporated. That's it for Chase Edmonds. In Arizona, maybe somewhere else. I think Benjamin was drafted to replace what Chase Edmonds does, and I think he can do that very well. I do believe that they're going to get a deal done. Drake is going to be the guy, and once that happens, we should see his ADP skyrocket from being the 19th ranked running back off of the board to a little bit higher than that. Is he going to crack the top 12? I'd say he should. He's still young. He's talented.
Definitely.
He's still young and he's talented. So I think Kenyan Drake is closer to a top 12 running back than he is, almost outside of the top 24. Some players that we didn't talk about that I want to bring up, and we can just get some quick thoughts here about these guys who are all facing these weird contract situations and have also been put on notice by their teams through the NFL draft. Chris Carson is one of those guys. And, good grief, back-to-back seasons over 1,100 rushing yards. He's caught 20 passes in 2018, 37 in 2019. And we talk about his injury history. He played 15 games last year, 14 games the year before that. He's always one of those players that seems to be banged up but goes into the game and performs very well. But he's due for a deal. Kareem Hunt, we know he's due for a deal. Todd Gurley's on a 1-year deal in a good situation down in Atlanta, and I don't think Todd Gurley is done. I think Kareem Hunt's got opportunity. Marlon Mack, they drafted Jonathan Taylor, so whether we want to or not, Marlon Mack is going to be out of the door and still only 24 years old. He's a player that I can see being a lead back for another team because when he's on the field, he's very good at running the ball. So when we're looking at some of these other running backs, Carson, Gurley, Hunt, Marlon Mack, where are you at with some of these players, Jordan?
I think for me, the biggest domino to fall is Kareem Hunt because he's not going to cost the team a whole lot if someone wants to take a risk on him. And I think that he's probably the highest ceiling. We know he led the league in rushing in 2017. But then he had his whole issue in Kansas City. Now he's on Cleveland, still having issues apparently getting pulled over for DUIs. But if you want to take a risk on Kareem Hunt, he's probably the highest ceiling of any of those guys. And then another point about Marlon Mack, I think he's going to end up kind of like what happened with Jordan Howard, where he goes a few different teams. And he just kind of he becomes that first and second down runner, that volume runner. Everyone wants to kind of poo-poo on Jordan Howard, but at the end of the day, he's a good running back. Whether you like it or not, he has a deal, he's signed, he's valuable for this season. And I think Marlon Mack will be the same thing, kind of that seasonal value, not the dynasty value, but could give you some actual value in a dynasty league because he's a relatively cheap option, right? And another guy I wanted to mention who I found kind of digging through this list was Tariq Cohen. And I think he's a really interesting domino to fall because of his pass catching ability. And it's like, what team is he going to stay in Chicago, or is he going to be upset that he's not being used right by Nagy and then go somewhere else? Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he I don't think he matters enough for fantasy to really care. You know what I mean? Because he's not going to be an every down running back. As much as we like the ideal of a James White, a Danny Woodhead, that's just not really what I want to build my running back core around, those situational guys. Because what if the team is up? If he lands on a team that's up and they just need to run the ball, then he's useless. I want my running back to be able to run the fucking ball. Like, that's what I want you to be able to do. Run the ball first and then have that ability to stay on the field in third downs. So, I mean, Tariq Cohen, even if he's a free agent, he's not really going to move the needle for me. I agree with you. I think Kareem Hunt. And what's crazy is we always talk about his 2017 season. He was tearing it up in 2018 prior to everything coming out and him being, suspended from the NFL. He was absolutely dominating in 2018. So he's still young. He is the running back that I think of all the kind of fringy players, because he can do it all. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, was he a product of the Kansas City offense?" To a certain degree, everybody is. But when he was made active for Cleveland, he was like their third leading target getter from the time that he got back to the end of the season. So Kareem Hunt is somebody that I'm definitely interested in. If I were the owner of Chris Carson, good luck trying to sell him. You need to get out from under that ASAP. I want no part of Chris Carson, and I'm mildly interested in Todd Gurley at his cost. So what I want to do right now is just run back through these players, and I just want to ask you, buy or sell these guys. So Derrick Henry, you buying or selling Henry?
I think I have to sell.
Selling Derrick Henry. Okay. Let's go to Alvin Kamara. Buying, and I know it's a high cost, but are you buying Alvin Kamara long term, or are you, let's just say, for instance, you get an opportunity to get a draft pick to draft Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a 2021 first, and another player. Are you buying Kamara? Are you riding with Kamara, or would you want to pivot and go young, like one of the top running backs in this class, Jonathan Taylor? Or what are you doing with Kamara? Buy or sell?
See, that's tough. I think if we're talking Clyde or JT, you have to go that route, especially for Clyde. You have to go that route. But as far as like startup ADP, I would probably still take Kamara. Like if we're talking about you have CH, you got CMC, you got Zeke, you have Dalvin Cook probably. I think kind of right behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I would take Kamara.
You would take Edwards-Helaire over Kamara?
Yeah. I think I would. I think I would.
If I offered you that straight up, would you take it?
No.
What do you mean?
But if you're offering me more guys, I think I'd have to consider, because it's just because I know that he's on that team.
Okay, Clyde in a 2021 first for Kamara.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Really? I'm taking that. 100%. 100%. I love Kamara. Don't get me wrong. I love Kamara, but I think you have to take that, because you know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on the Chiefs for 5 years. We know that Kamara's on the Saints for this year, and that's it.
All right. Leonard Fournette, buy or sell?
Oh, I'm buying Leonard for sure. You could probably get him for first.
Aaron Jones.
I'm selling. There's nothing. I love his talent, but you have to sell him.
I don't even really love his talent. I think he's all right. Kenyan Drake, buy or sell?
I'm buying Kenyan Drake, especially ADP.
Chris Carson.
Well, you got to. I think Chris Carson's a hold, because I just don't think you can sell him for anything. But if I could sell him, I would.
Sell. Marlon Mack, buy or sell?
What's the price? I think I got to get I'm probably a seller.
A 2020 second. Would you take Mack for a 2020 second?
I would take the 2020 second for sure. For sure. I would take the
2021 second for Marlon Mack.
I'd still take the second. I think if you get to the third, then we're talking. But second, I'd bet on my abilities.
Fuck that. You might as well hold him. Yeah. I'm not trading him for a third. But, all right, Kareem Hunt, buy or sell? Buy.
Buying all day.
TG, Todd Gurley, buy or sell?
Oof. I think you got to sell him mid-season. He has a couple good games. You sell him for a first. I think coming out ahead, right?
That's probably a good strategy. I was gonna go the opposite and say buy, but I think he's gonna do well in Atlanta. Seasonal leagues. I think he's gonna eat. But after he blows up, I would probably try to sell him for first. Good shit. All right. That is it. We went through some of the running backs, talked about the contract situations, all that other good stuff. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed Jordan dropping by the All Gas Show. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you're following the show at Destination Debbie. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do it. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Got some really good information about to drop. I'm just waiting for the right time, but I got some good stuff coming for you. But until next time, man, that is it. That's the show. Deuces.